Hello everyone, I hope you are well and welcome to today's lesson. In this lesson, we'll be covering ownership, possession, holdership, and the differences between these three aspects. We hope that you enjoy the lesson. In this lesson, we'll cover what field of law these fall under, different kinds of property, and as said earlier, ownership, possession, holdership with some examples. Before I begin, it is important for you to understand that this is a brief overview of the differences. So we will not be going in depth in certain topics. I will reserve some topics for different videos of their own. So ownership, possession, and holdership fall under the category of South African property law. And the South African property law can be loosely described as the law of things, which falls under the umbrella of patrimonial law. Patrimonial law, briefly put, deals with the regulation of rights in relation to a person's assets in their estate. The law of things, as a subdivision of patrimonial law, deals with the regulation of relationships between legal subjects and legal objects, as well as defining the rights and duties in relation to these relationships. So imagine a diagram. At the top, you have patrimonial law, which is a division in private law. Remember, we have public law and private law. Patrimonial law falls under private law. And then within that subdivision, you have property law, one of the subdivisions of patrimonial law. I want you to take a look around at wherever you are, whether you are at your desk, at work, at school, no matter where you are, just have a look at the different things around you. Maybe you have books around you. You may have a glass of water around you. You may have a lunchbox. You may have your laptop, whatever other device you are watching this on. Those are all what we classify as things. Okay, in this presentation, I've given you a picture of a phone next to a book. I've given you a picture of a field, which in my mind, I wanted you to have an image of a farm. I've given you a picture of a cup. I've given you a picture of a lady holding her scarf. And in the background, there is a picture of a man with a car and a dog. So these are all different things. Let's start with ownership. So ownership is always lawful. It is always lawful. You can't have unlawful ownership because you wouldn't then be the owner if it was unlawful in the first place. So ownership can be defined as the most comprehensive real right that a person can have relating or regarding their property. What does this mean? It means that that person can do what they want with their property. These are called entitlements, and I'll do a video on entitlements in another lesson. But just because they are the owner does not mean that there's always 100% ability to do what they please. When I say there's not 100% ability, you will see what I mean soon when I give an example. Why is this so? Because of something called limitations on ownership, which I will also do another video on. These limitations act as what I call legal barriers that halt owners from doing certain things with their thing or their property because of rights that other people have in relation to the same property. So essentially what I'm saying here is that an owner will will be in charge, will own a certain property, but they will be they will be stopped from doing certain things because other people also have rights in relation to that exact same property. And I reiterated, certain circumstances limit the entitlements of the owner. So think of this example. Imagine that you are a homeowner. Eventually you will be. Hopefully you will be. But if you're a homeowner, you are able to sell the house. That is a very common entitlement that we know of. You are able to sell the house when you want, and you are able to live in the house if it is empty. And living in the house, residing in the house, is a form of use and enjoyment. Another example of entitlement. there are many different kinds of entitlements, and I will go over them, like I said, in another video. But now let's change the scenario. Imagine that you have a tenant, so you've just bought a property and you don't want to live in it, but you want to derive maybe income from it, so you rent out the property. Now, you can still decide to sell the house as an owner, of course. Why? Because you are the owner of the house. However, because now you have a tenant, you cannot live in the house for the duration of their lease. Okay? Unless you have some special arrangement that allows them to, that permits you as the owner to live in the house at the same time as them. Maybe you're living in the house and you want to rent out a 1-bedroom. But generally, if you are not living in the house and you rent it out to somebody who wants to move their family in or themselves in, you cannot live in the house. So therefore, the entitlement of use and enjoyment is limited. So your ownership is limited in the sense that someone else now has the right to live in your house that you own. Moving on to possession. Possession is always unlawful. So I've put here in common parlance, so when we are speaking in everyday language, with other people, we as an owner of a thing will say that we are in possession of that thing. So we are in control of it. We have it in our possession. So this is not necessarily incorrect when you are talking about it in the ordinary sense of the word. Like I said, in everyday conversations, you would just say, oh yes, I'm in possession of this and that, and you are the owner. But in the South African law of property, there is a specific meaning assigned to the word possession. And that is possession can be loosely defined as the unlawful control of a thing. Remember, this is a very loose definition. So you, the possessor of a thing, have the intention to pass the thing off as your property, but it is actually not yours. So in simpler words, you're pretending to be the owner of that thing. And in the legal context, that is called a mala fide possessor. Mala means bad, fide, faith. So you are possessing the thing in bad faith. You know that you are not the owner, but you're trying to pass the thing off as your own. Now, there are what we call bona fide possessors. Okay, so this is the opposite of mala fide possessors. And bona fide possessors are people who control the thing mistakenly believing that they are the owner. So they have no ill intention. In other words, they are not trying to pass off someone else's property as their own. So the difference between these two is the intention. And I added here that certain cases of possession are protected by the law. So when I make another video on remedies, when someone is in possession of something that you are the rightful owner of, you will see that the courts will not simply give you back the thing that you own illegally in an illegal way. So there are legal channels to obtain control of your property that is being possessed by somebody else. So an example is headphones. So imagine that you own a pair of headphones and you and your group of friends are sitting one day, let's say in a circle or at a concert. I don't know why you would have headphones at a concert, but just imagine that you have headphones. And then one day you mistakenly leave the headphones on a chair. Okay, now you walk out, leaving the headphones. Okay, you left it by mistake. And somebody else in the corner, or one of your friends, sees the headphones that you have left and decides to take them without telling you nothing and uses them moving forward. This is an example where you can see that the person is trying to pass the headphones off as theirs. So they are pretending to be the owner of the headphones when they maybe go on the bus the next day, or they use it to listen to something when they're taking a walk. They are passing it off as the their possession. So this is an example of a mala fide possessor, a person who is possessing the thing in bad faith. But now you own a pair of headphones. This is another scenario, and you leave it again on the chair. But somebody else who has the exact same pair as yours, so you have a white GBL pair of headphones, and you decide you leave it mistakenly on the chair and you walk out. Somebody behind you or even next to you has the exact same pair and also leaves theirs but doesn't remember where. They see yours and they decide to take it believing that it is theirs. This is an example of someone who is acting as the owner based on the wrong assumption that it is theirs. However, they are not intending to take something that is not theirs. So they believe, oh yes, this is my headphones that I mistakenly left here. Let me take it. So they think that it is theirs. So they take it in good faith. They are still in possession of it, so it's still unlawful, but they really think that it is theirs. So it's a wrong assumption that it's theirs. Moving on to holdership. Holdership can either be lawful or unlawful, and we'll explore that now. So holdership exists when a person acknowledges or recognizes that they are not the owner of the thing or property, but is in control of the object to obtain a benefit. So I like to think of this sentence, and I think you should as well. I acknowledge that this property is not mine, but I'm using it because, and following the because must be a legally valid reason as to why you are using that property. So I put here, the use or the control must be legally valid. And I said, see example, we'll see an example now. So the reason behind you using that property that you recognize and you acknowledge is not yours, so you're not trying to pass it off as yours, there must be a legally valid reason behind you using or deriving, obtaining benefit from that property. So we have lawful holders who can have real rights. I'll also explain that in another video. And unlawful holders. Unlawful holders are further categorized into either mala fide or bona fide holders. Bona fide holders, so good faith holders, are mistaken about the legal standing of their ownership, holdership. Mala fide holders, on the other hand, are aware that there is no legal right of holdership in place. Now, when I explain the following example, you will see the difference between mala fide holders, bona fide holders, and bona fide and mala fide possessors. So imagine that you are a tenant. So you and the homeowner sign a lease which legally permits you to reside in the property from the 1st of January 2024 to the 31st of December 2024. During this period of your lease, that is, you are the lawful holder of the house. So, before I continue, it's very important for you to understand this. When I say you are the lawful holder of the house, you are not in possession of the house, as we would normally say in the ordinary, in ordinary everyday conversations. You are the lawful holder, meaning you recognize that that house that you are about to live in, according to your lease, does not belong to you. It belongs to somebody else. But you are entering into the lease hoping to derive a benefit. And the question I left here is, the advantage or benefit obtained from this is, so think about what the benefit is. The benefit is that now you have a roof over your head. You are now using the house to live in it, to enjoy using the stove, to enjoy using the bathroom, the bedrooms, and generally have a roof over your head for you or you and your family. But now imagine this scenario. Imagine if you had no idea that the lease was was not legally valid. You are what we call a bona fide unlawful holder. Why is it unlawful? Because your lease won't be valid for many different reasons. At least it will not be valid. But because you did not know, you had no knowledge of the fact that it was not legally valid, you are classified as bona fide. So you entered into the lease agreement in good faith. So, however, if you do know that it is not legally valid, so you have knowledge that the lease is not legally valid and you continue to live in the house, you are now classified as a mala fide holder, a bad faith holder. So again, the differences between these two and bona fide and mala fide possessor is that you are not trying to pass something off as ownership. Here with holdership, you recognize that you are not the owner of the property or the thing that is the legal object. Thank you everybody for tuning in to this very brief overview of the differences between ownership, holdership, and possession. I hope it helps you. This is a great video if you're an ordinary citizen who wants to know the differences between these three terms, or if you are a student studying property law. I hope this video will be of assistance. Bye-bye.